Hi, I'm James from Mindwise, a full-service fundraising agency that works with nonprofits all over the world. And today we're going to run through an introduction to lead generation for nonprofits, covering the most important fundamentals in around 10 minutes. We'll cover what lead generation is, why nonprofits should do it. We'll look at different types of lead gen campaigns, how to maximize your success using a test, learn, and optimize process. And we'll look at building a diverse portfolio that helps secure your donor acquisition program. Let's get into it. And we'll start with a question for those who aren't sure. What is nonprofit lead generation? We'll define it as an online campaign involving a non-financial action whereby the nonprofit captures the supporter's direct contact details for further engagement. At a minimum, those direct contact details will usually include email address, and they often include a phone number as well. Lead generation is often, but not always, the first step in a two-step donor acquisition strategy, and we'll talk about that a bit more in a few minutes. Now, a second key question. Why should nonprofits do lead generation? Well, lead gen is kind of like superfood for your organization. It's a really healthy activity because it grows your online community and engagement, which in turn help you achieve your strategic objectives, such as core program objectives, raising brand and message awareness, fundraising and donor acquisition for sure, volunteer recruitment, and it can help you do a whole lot of other things. From a marketing perspective, lead gen feeds a nonprofit's funnel, providing a first touch point from which you can step up the commitment of your new supporters to the cause. Or put another way, it lets you start relationships with people who are interested in your cause or aligned with your values. And when you think about it, people are actually qualifying themselves as good supporter prospects when they take your survey or sign your petition. However you put it, growing your community of supporters makes your organization stronger in many ways, provided, of course, you engage and guide them well from that first interaction, which takes us on to two-step campaigns. As I said before, nonprofit lead gen campaigns are often driven by fundraising objectives, and we can call these two-step campaigns, with the first touch point being lead generation and the second being donor conversion. Two-step campaigns can really involve a range of different channels and complexity. Now, up the simple end of the spectrum is something like this. We're running ads on Facebook, Instagram, maybe TikTok, and we're driving traffic to lead forms that are set up within those social platforms, so there's no web page setup required. And when someone takes that lead gen action, they receive a thank you email and they go into a donor conversion phone program. So it's fairly straightforward. Up the more complex end of the spectrum is something like this. Here we've got dedicated campaign landing pages for lead generation and donor conversion, and we're using a range of channels to drive traffic to that lead gen landing page, including social ads, organic social, paid search, and even email so that your existing subscribers can share with their friends. After someone takes that lead gen action, they go on a multi-channel conversion journey, including an immediate online ask, an email journey, retargeted ads, and telemarketing. Now, both simple and complex user flows are viable. The best choice for you really just depends on your campaign objectives. But in either case, it's really important to think of the whole supporter journey and experience from the first touch point through to donor conversion and onboarding. You really must plan out everything from creative to systems to data flows to ensure a more smooth supporter experience throughout the whole journey. If you do this right, you'll really maximize your campaign donor conversion results. But actually, maximizing this group's lifetime supporter value isn't just about how many donors you can convert immediately after their first touch point. In fact, if you engage your leads well and build your relationship with them over time, you'll find that there's a really long tail of conversion, meaning that you'll find some leads making a first donation to you 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 4 years, or even more after first taking your survey, downloading your brochure, and so on. And this means that your return on investment also keeps increasing over time, again, if you keep engaging this segment of non-donors well. Now, I want to get more concrete. Let's look at some examples and categories of lead gen action. Now, we'll just touch on these briefly. If you want to know more, keep an eye on our YouTube channel for more detailed videos on each of these categories. And as we go through these examples, just have a think about how they may translate for your organization. First up, petitions. Now, petitions invite people to join calls on a political or corporate target to change specific policies or behaviours. Petitions can spread really quickly and grow your community rapidly at scale if they focus on a topic of high relevance to your audience. For example, this Greenpeace UK petition here addresses a number of really hot button topics in 2022, including home energy prices, climate change, the Ukraine war, and it's targeted at the infamous Boris Johnson. A petition should also have a strong theory of change to convince the reader that enough people signing it can really help achieve its goals. And a real petition is delivered to the target with the names of all the petitioners on it. Next, hand raisers. A hand raiser is a non-financial action asking the audience to affirm their agreement with a values-driven statement. Like this one Mindwise did for Orbis International: every child deserves healthy eyesight. The values invoked in the hand raiser can give it a petition-like feel, but a hand raiser really lacks the concrete policy calls and delivery strategy of a petition. Like petitions, successful hand raisers focus on the topic that's relevant to or that triggers your audience. Third, value exchanges. A value exchange offers the audience something of personal value in exchange for their details and the chance to continue the conversation. For example, this anticoagulation pass from the Thrombosis Foundation in the Netherlands. This campaign type is more driven by self-interest or user benefit than something like a petition or a hand raiser, but it can be just as successful. And of course, subject relevance is, as always, key here. Moving on, here we have a survey and a quiz. The tone is different between the two, but the format is essentially the same. A multiple question experience that gives information back to the participant based on how they answer the questions. And through interactivity like this, you can really offer the participant useful information like in a brochure, but through a different kind of experience. Now, what are key factors for success with surveys and quizzes? You guessed it, audience relevance, whether that's because you're over 40 and wondering about the risks of diabetes and heart disease, or if you're curious about Australian animals and want to know which one you're most similar to. Fifth, behavioural pledges. Now, when signing a pledge, the participant commits to adhering to a certain values-driven behaviour, like saying no to single-use plastic, as in this example. A pledge can be a powerful lead gen mechanism if it delivers a strong theory of change so that people feel that their participation will actually make a difference. Obviously, it also needs to be about something that's relevant to people to attract their participation. Lastly, polls. A poll asks the participant a single question about a topic that resonates and is relevant to the audience, like childhood vaccination or the rights of women and girls. And these two examples here really show how a poll can focus on a hot topic that triggers response without making the specific policy calls of a petition. After all, if you ask a group of adults what they think about vaccination, you'll very rarely be met with silence. Now, we've just covered 6 of the common types of nonprofit lead generation. There are many more, including send a message actions, games, share your story, or photo actions and others. It's really important that you explore a range of these different campaign types to uncover all the possibilities for your cause. Now I want to move on to a couple of final strategic points on building a lead gen program in a way that minimises risk and maximises success. The first of those is using an ideate, test, learn, optimize cycle at the program level. Let's unpack how this process works. Now, first at ideation, you want to tap into many brains and generate many ideas in a brainstorm session with a number of people, then collectively select the 3 that the group involved in the brainstorm feel have the best potential for lead generation. Next, we multivariate test those 3 campaign ideas to split segments of the exact same audiences. Now, it's important that we do this in the lowest cost possible way to generate data without spending too much money. And Facebook lead forms combined with Facebook experiments for the multivariate test are such a way to do this. Next, once we have significant results, we analyze to learn which of these campaigns and creative worked best for which audiences according to your key metrics. Now, it's really important at this stage to analyze all metrics relevant to your primary campaign objectives. So if you're doing a 2-step campaign involving phone conversion for donor acquisition, don't just focus on the cost per lead. You really need to measure and factor in phone conversion as well, phone conversion rate as well, so that you get a cost per donor, which is actually your most important metric. Then lastly, we optimize the program by rolling out the winning campaign or campaigns that delivered acceptable results. Ideally, budget permitting, this test and learn cycle is something that you can actually run periodically. And so in this way, you can gradually build a portfolio of viable campaigns that you know resonate with your audience. And a diverse portfolio of campaigns gives your donor acquisition program stability, as you can guarantee a steady supply of leads. If a campaign becomes fatigued or redundant, or you have to stop it for some other reason, you can pause or stop it, but you've got other campaigns on or ready to go to ensure that leads can keep flowing. Now, this is an ideal vision. Not everyone has the resources for this level of testing and rollout right away, but it's something to aim for. Even 2 viable and ready campaigns gives far more security than just 1. Thanks a lot for joining me for this introduction to non-profit lead generation. There's a lot more to this topic, so do keep an eye on our YouTube channel for more useful videos on lead gen and digital fundraising. And please do get in touch at info@mindwise.org or via our website if you have any questions or want support for your digital fundraising program. See you soon.